This next song is called Angel of the Morning by Chip Taylor, and I think it's very interesting that 7 out of the first 8 notes are an F. Now when you think, how could I write a great melody with one note? I think Gentle on My Mind is one good example, and Angel of the Morning makes another great example. And by holding the note steady and changing the chords underneath it, you change this simple and unassuming note into a power tone, one that's just dripping with emotion. Now, I'll play the melody raw first, no chords, no accompaniment. It's a beautiful melody already, but when you add the chords, it becomes super. Okay, so let's talk about what the chords do to that repeated F. Initially, it's part of the tonic chord, the first chord in the key, based on the first note in the scale, and that is B flat. Here's the B flat chord, and there's that note, that F. And at this moment, I'm going to repeat the F, but I'm going to change the chord to an E flat major, and now this note, the same note, has become a dissonant ninth. It's the ninth note of the scale based on the root of the chord, E flat. And therefore it has a strong gravitational pull towards the root of the chord just below it. But that pull is denied, and then surprisingly Chip Taylor goes up to the third of the chord, which is another direction that note could go, and that is a more ecstatic expression of emotion, because the third of the chord is always an emotional note. In this case, a joyful emotion. You're plugging along in B flat. When you hit the E flat and the same note, the F, becomes a ninth, and it no longer matches harmonically with the root. There's a feeling of resistance about it. There's an emotional conflict, and the conflict is resolved when you go up the scale to the E. Oops. And then immediately you come back to F again. But this time F has changed identities again, and now it's become the root of the dominant chord. And the roots of chords are very sturdy, strong, and determined. And in this case, the dominant chord, which is full of promise, the promise being to return to the tonic. Here it comes. Okay, when the promise is fulfilled, or just the suggestion, when there is merely a suggestion of a promise, it can easily fit the lyrics of your song, and in this case, Angel of the Morning, it fits perfectly. So I'm going to play it again slowly, 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 not at the speed you hear it at it, but believe me, even though the tempo of the song is much faster than what I'm about to play, you do absorb all of these meanings, these subtleties, at a subconscious level. And if you didn't, the magic of music just wouldn't be there. So you have to believe that it's that you are processing this information at a subconscious level extremely quickly. The purpose of my column and the Compose Yourself course, which is slowly going up online, is to make a lot of these subconscious realizations conscious, so you can use them in composing your songs. Okay, here we go with the first 4 measures of Angel of the Morning again. Now that second to last chord, this, is called the 4 chord, and it is when 4 goes to 1, you recognize that as the Amen cadence, Amen, which expresses surrender, not necessarily in the feeling of giving up, but perhaps in the feeling of ecstatic union. That's a non-chord tone, kind of a non-chord tone, chord tone, going to a chord tone. These tones are called passing tones. They connect the one chord tone, this chord tone, to another chord tone. And then there's this unexpected leap off a cliff into. And the last thing I have to say about this song, it's also covered in the column coming up in July, is that the 5th of the scale is often a tone of faith. So read the column and get the full interpretation. I translate the melody to Angel of the Morning into plain English for you. Your translation might be different from mine, and that's quite all right, but it may give you some ideas about how meaningful melody works. Now this tone, the 5th, figures in a lot of songs about faith. For example, well, I could play taps again, but I think I did that at the beginning of the video. Amazing Grace moves from the 5th below to the 5th above. So faith surrounds the tonic, and the tonic is none other than you, the listener. So this is a song about a listener who is swimming in a sea of faith. The final point I want to make about non-chord tones or power tones today is that what I've tried to show you is the range of expressiveness that power tones can have. Gentle on My Mind was using a tone that was actually part of the chord throughout the entire opening progression, but the chord kept changing underneath it, and an internal voice was moving down the scale and creating some minor dissonances with the tone in the melody. And that was nowhere near as striking as, and that's not a bad thing, by the way, that's just in the character of the song. Gentle on My Mind, it was a gentle effect. Angel of the Morning, on the other hand, had a very strong effect relative to Gentle on My Mind, because it introduced the repeated tone became the 9th of the 4 chord. And the 9th is a pretty strong dissonance. There are many other dissonances, however, that are stronger, and we'll be coming to those later. And then the passing tones that occurred later in Angel of the Morning, and also, by the way, were occurring in Gentle on My Mind, were barely noticeable because they flash by and they're not punctuated by a rhythmic accent. So we find that rhythmic accent and the character of the power tone make all the difference. In the meantime, what you might do is play a chord and sing a scale over it, and just try to get the feeling of fighting against the chord tones with your voice. So that's two exercises you could do. You could change chords and sing the same note, or you can play a single chord and sing the scale over that over the notes of that chord. And there'll be more to come. So thanks for listening in, and I'll see you in the July-August column.